Do you want your vote to count? Then count on electoral change. Do you want your vote to count? Together we can make a change. We're living with a false majority. We deserve representative democracy, 'cause 40% of the vote can give them 100% of the power. I want my vote to count in a meaningful way. I want to vote with my heart so I can have my say. I'm asking for transparency. I expect accountability. Do you want your vote to count? Then count on electoral change. Do you want your vote to count?
Coming out of high school, I didn't really know that our electoral system needed reform, nor did I really know anything about our electoral system. I figured it was like a race, the first one to the post wins. There's winners and losers. It's not so clear-cut once I found out what actually goes on.
One of my greatest concerns of this great flaw in our system, of this false majority, is I can see our governments, the seniors of our governments, teaching this to our young and up-and-coming politicians. Young, bright people, good minds, probably have good ethical desires and goals of why they're going into politics. But what they're learning is the deceptive ways of their party's seniors that have been operating in this false majority, in this first-past-the-post system. They're learning that it's okay to be deceitful before an election if they know their party's plan doesn't represent the wishes of the people. That it's okay once you're elected to usurp the democratic process and lay out your own true plan because there's nothing anybody can do about it. That is a very disheartening lesson for our young politicians to be learning. I find that very disturbing. We have to do something about that. And there are ways and things we can do about that.
Together we can make a change. Together in solidarity we can stop the erosion of democracy, a system to balance the power, where respect will flower. I want my vote to count.
Found out it's kind of like a pipeline with holes in it. If you just increase the pressure, you're still going to get something out at the end, but you're missing something. That missing something is our votes. When I found out that if you actually change the system around, those missing votes could be accounted for something, I sure liked that.
There's over 100 democratic nations around the world right now that are using some form of proportional representation. Even the countries that were liberated from behind the Iron Curtain, they deliberately sidestepped our false majority machine, I call it, and chose a system of PR because they could see it's much more inclusive and produces much more inclusive governments.
In a meaningful way, I want to vote with my heart so I can have my say. We can leave a legacy, a new system with inclusivity. Do you want your vote to count? Then count on electoral change.
We can do whatever we choose as far as electoral reform, and we don't have to wait for Ottawa to give us direction on that. Our little family here in the Yukon, 35,000 people, we can do whatever we choose in that regard. There's a wonderful quote I ran into a while back that I think that pertains to this, and that is, the antiquity of a rule is no measure of its soundness. It's time to re-examine the grounds upon which this ancient rule was laid down. That's Justice J.C. Hennessy spoke that for a different situation, but I think it applies precisely to our situation here. Our electoral system is something like 1,000 years old, designed for a system that was very oppressive, almost nobody could read or write, and a small elite controlled all and did the voting. Our society has obviously evolved much for the better since then, but our electoral system, hardly at all. We're still using the same thing. It's time for change. We can do that now. It's not just a right. For the sake of the future and all the people to come, it's our responsibility. The time for change is now.
Do you want your vote to count? Together we can make a change. A fair vote.ca, a fair vote.ca. fairvote.ca, a fairvote.ca, a fairvote.ca.